Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement with best-selling author and fiduciary Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it, get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
Over the years, there's been a ton of popular science fiction TV shows and movies to hit the scene, but one name that rises to the top for yours truly is Star Trek.
Space, the final frontier.
Set in the 23rd century, the television series Star Trek ran from only 1966 through 1969. With very low ratings during that period of time, it would be canceled only to be later syndicated and then later becoming a huge hit. Now, for some reason, of all the episodes I remember watching as a kid, there was one that stood out in particular called The Trouble with Tribbles. In this comic episode, the starship USS Enterprise visits a space station that soon becomes overwhelmed by rapidly reproducing small furry creatures referred to as Tribbles. The problem with these unassuming and cuddly little creatures was not the harm they caused anyone, but rather the way they quickly infested the USS Enterprise. They hid, and they multiplied so quickly that even Dr. Spock estimated it would take over 17 years to get rid of them. To say they became unmanageable would be an understatement. And lucky for Captain Kirk and his crew, they managed to eradicate the Tribbles and get them off their ship. If only it were that easy to get rid of the fees the financial world is charging on your money. Well, folks, climb aboard the USS Worry-Free Retirement because today we're going to expose the hidden fees on your money and show you how through our process, we in many cases can save you a ton of money by tossing them overboard. Well, welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, financial tribble specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before I share with you how to get rid of the financial tribbles in your life, let me introduce two of my favorite crew members who are working diligently here at the Worry-Free Retirement Studios in Louisville. My very own Dr. Spock, the producer of the show, Mr. Aaron Orander, along with over in the engine room, Scotty. Remember Scotty?
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Mr. Derek Hudson. Okay, Aaron, I've got to ask you. I know you're quite a bit younger than me. Be honest, did you ever watch the TV series, not any of the movies, the TV series, any of those shows, Star Trek?
Good morning to you, sir. To answer your question, no. I never watched the TV show. I saw a couple of the movies and saw a couple of the recent movies, but no, never really watched the TV show from the 60s.
You know, one thing I remember, I won't name his name, we had, of course, that was back in the 60s and growing up in Lexington. On our street, that's back when everybody went out and just played ball. It didn't matter. Whatever season, you know, we would play baseball, wiffle ball over in the back lot of Southland Bowling Alley. We would play football literally out in the street, touch fit football, mind you. Basketball in different people's driveways. And there was one family in particular, I never will remember. My brother used to get so mad. His first name was James, and we always wanted James to play. He's a decent athlete. But when Star Trek was on TV, he would not come out and play.
The world stopped.
The world stopped for James. And, you know, looking back on it, maybe James had maybe a heavier mind than we realized, because I thought the show was goofy. Now looking back, they say, it's kind of a heavy show. So, and as I got older, I had more of an appreciation for Star Trek. So obviously you haven't seen this episode, The Trouble with Tribbles, either.
No, haven't watched it. I've seen a couple of clips that you've sent me, but no. I tell you one thing I do kind of know or remember, I guess, from watching the movies, seeing a little bit of the, clips of the show. So they wore different colored shirts depending on what depending on what the rank was. Correct. Or what their position was or whatever. Okay. I know this. If you were given a red shirt on set, you probably weren't going to last very long. The red shirts were always the ones that were shot or captured or whatever. So if you were an actor cast on that show and they were like, here's your red shirt, you were probably only going to be in one episode.
Yeah, the Klingons or somebody was going to get you. Yeah, that's funny to remember that. That is true, though. So what we're going to talk about today, folks, is the financial tribbles in your life, and it's all of the darn fees that are hidden and buried inside your 401k, the annuities, the mutual funds. I got an interesting article that just hit the press about a large company, an insurance company / investment company that kind of came under fire for hiding some of these fees. So it is a real problem. And you thought Tribbles multiplied quickly. What you're going to find out today is the huge cost, not only to you, but to your family and what you leave them one day. So when I come back, we're going to start off talking with Heather Hughes in our Bowling Green office, fellow fiduciary, a little bit about how we look at fees. And then we're going to talk about tiered fee systems. And as we get into the show, it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to really try to take this slow, break it down, but you need to understand how costly these fees are and how we at Tony Walker Financial are going to put more money back into your pocket. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. With the stock market at all-time highs and our nation's debt through the roof, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Now may be the best time to safeguard more of your 401k. Let's get started today by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. The topic of today's show is built around one of the most popular episodes of Star Trek back in 1967, The Trouble with Tribbles, an episode featuring one cute and cuddly furball who multiplied and took over Captain Kirk's USS Enterprise. And like fees charged by the financial world, the biggest problem with Tribbles is the way they hide out. So whether you've got a 401k, an IRA, Roth IRA, annuity, mutual fund, or other investments with a money manager, you more than likely are getting dinged and stung to death with fees. And again, it's very, very hard sometimes to find these things, and also how are they calculated. So what I thought we would do is through the magic of Zoom, we're going to talk to our own Heather Hughes, a fellow fiduciary in Bowling Green, just to let you know how we at Tony Walker Financial look into these fees and try to save our clients money. So Heather, how are you doing today?
Good morning, Tony. How are you today?
Doing well, doing well. And you're kind of the fee expert around Tony Walker Financial. Kind of tell folks a little bit about, as a fiduciary, what you do in terms of our fee analysis, and we'll get into a little more detail of what you find in most cases.
Absolutely. So typically, I'm tasked with looking at existing brokerage accounts and trying to dissect what's going on inside of those. So I'll look at individual investments to see what the costs are for mutual funds, ETFs. Those aren't really disclosed to clients except through prospectus, in addition to the advisory fees that their current or past advisors have charged them.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing we've realized over time. Sometimes, even if an advisor might say, well, we charge 1% or 1.5%, that's not always just the fee. So explain sometimes what happens when you have your base fee, that is what the advisor might charge, but explain a little bit about expense ratios and the fees on top of those investments and sometimes what they can run.
Sure. Other investments carry what's called expense ratios or 12B1 fees, and they can range from anywhere just to, like 0.02% all the way up to 2.5%. So when you have a large fee like that on top of an advisory fee, it can get pretty expensive. And then if you get into anything with an A share, that means it's going to pay a commission to your advisor off the top. So, you put 100,000 into an investment that has an A share, your accountant is going to go down immediately once you purchase those shares to cover the commission to pay the advisor.
Yeah, just like I said, those tribbles keep growing and they keep hiding out. And finally, and I'm going to cover this in some detail here shortly, but talk to people about our level fee versus some advisors, which is called a tier fee system, and how that works.
Absolutely. So our level fee is we charge 0.8% per year or 0.2% per quarter. That's how it's actually taken out. With other advisors, they can be tiered. So say the first $200,000 of your account is charged 1.5%, the next 200 could be at 1.25, and then the next 200 could be at 1. So it sounds like, when you hit that $600,000 level, I'm only paying 1%. Simply not true. You're paying more than that. So you've got to be really careful about who your advisors are, how they accurately disclose their fees that they're charging, and, kind of buyer beware.
That's a good place to end. Heather, we appreciate so much all the work you do for our clients and prospective clients in making sure we fully understand what the fees are. So thank you for your time, and you make it a good one.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Heather. Again, if you're interested in talking to myself or Heather, and maybe you've got some investments, the statements are very complicated, you don't understand them, feel free to email Heather at TonyWalkerFinancial.com, Heather at TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and at no cost we'll be happy to kind of help you think through and see if we can help you figure out what they are charging you in the way of fees. Okay, let's be upfront about something. This radio show, the TV show, The Worry-Free Retirement, myself and Aaron and all the folks here at Worry-Free Productions put these together once a week. By the way, Aaron, why don't you tell them how they can check out former episodes, not only of the radio show, but also the television show?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you want to catch past radio shows, all you need to do is go to SoundCloud.com, and in the search bar right there at the top, just type in Worry-Free Retirement, and you're going to find all of our past radio shows. Now, if you'd rather watch the TV show and see a little more in-depth with graphics and things of that nature, all you got to do is go to youtube.com, and again, right there in the top, there's a search bar. Just type in Tony Walker Financial, and you'll see Tony's smiling face. Just click on that, and you're going to find all types of videos. You're going to find past episodes. You're going to find webinars we've done in the past. You're even going to find special guest interviews that Tony's done. So again, youtube.com, type in Tony Walker Financial.
All right, thank you, Aaron. One of the things before we get into something I wanted to share that kind of expound upon what Heather said about tiered fees, but here's the truth, folks. If you're going to talk with any advisor, including yours truly, again, I'm a full-time advisor, a fiduciary. We handle people's money. That's how we get paid. Or even if you give your money to a financial institution, whether it's a bank or insurance company or hand it over to a money manager, here's the three ways that we in this industry get paid. Here's how we make money on your money. Number one would be commissions on the sale of various financial products, which we have products we sell for a commission. The second way the financial world makes money, which we don't operate this way, we'll see this in an article in a minute how it got a little fishy, but is called the spread. There's a lot of stuff going on out there where there's trading and bartering going on, and people are trying to keep what's called the spread. They'll make some money, keep part of it, and pay you back. The banks and insurance companies work that way. You go in and give them a $100,000 for 1% CD. They're trying to loan it out at 3 or 4. That's the spread they make. And then finally, probably the most common way anymore is recurring fees, and that's what we're really focusing on today. So speaking of fees, this tiered system, I want to explain an actual case I was working on. It was really interesting, and how in the weeds this person got when I kept telling them to go back to this advisor, a money manager they were looking at, and try to get things clarified. Because here's how it kind of went, Aaron. Now again, most of our clients do not have over $1 million of investments. That's a lot of money in the state of Kentucky. This person did. Most of our clients that come, we have some that have over $1 million, but a lot of clients have 50, 100, 200. I mean, we work with all sizes. But in this case, this person was going to have over $1 million to invest, and they talked to us about, would you all be interested in helping us? I said, sure. We ran them a game plan. and they were talking with a pretty large money manager, somebody I was fairly familiar with, but kind of a national presence, And I said, well, what are they going to charge you? So they said, well, the fee is, if we give them all the money, is 1%, which is really not that bad. And I said, well, is that 1% of everything, or is that what's called a tiered system? And the young lady I was talking to said, what do you mean tiered system? I said, well, you got to be careful there, because what they can do, it's kind of like the progressive tax system in our country. The more you make, the more they take. What happens, let's use taxes for a second. So let's say you make $150,000. The first tier, or the first amount of income up to a certain amount, is taxed at 10%. The next tier is taxed at 12, and then 15, and so forth. Well, let me share the tiers, Aaron, with this particular money manager. The first tier, and they didn't tell this lady this, the first tier is up to $750,000. Well, that block of money is going to be charged at 1.5%.
Not one.
Not one.
Okay.
Now you say, well, what's the big deal? Well, $750,000 at 1% is still $7,500. But if we charge 1.5 on that, that's $11,250. That's over $4,000 difference on that tier. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Then you go up to the next tier. That would be $250,000. We're not even at $1 million yet. That's 1.25, not 1. So again, rather than $2,500 a year, it's $3,125 a year. And then finally, the balance, which was just barely over $1 million, was the 1%. So this person was getting a little shell-shocked over all this. I think she was glad I was trying to help her understand, when you are talking to these institutions, advisors, first of all, if they don't provide you Form ADV Part 2, all right, we provide that to all of our clients, then you're not going to get the whole picture. The ADV Form Part 2 is where you'll find all that. If an advisor is not going to give that to you, then basically you need to find another advisor.
So, Tony, it almost kind of sounds like the more you make, not only the more do they take, but it almost sounds like, in a weird way, it almost sounds like you're penalized for having more money in a way.
That's really true. No, you are. And I'll tell you who's really penalized too are the people that don't have quite as much, because they fall into these higher tiers too, as far as percentages. See, we just do a flat fee.
Right. It's going to be the same no matter. Okay.
That's right. And it's so much easier to calculate. It's 0.8% for everything, whether you have a $50,000 account with us or $5 million account. That's just the way we do it. And even at the 0.8, Aaron, with all of the service we provide, we're usually much lower than most money managers. Well, in this example, let me kind of go through this. So here was the exact example. This person also was interested in an annuity. So what we did, we broke that up. We used an annuity with no fee. That's called an accumulation product, no fees whatsoever. We used an annuity, a fixed indexed annuity with an income rider. That fee, which is charged by the insurance company, we don't get that, is 1.05% per year. We decided to put about $286,000 in that annuity, and then we left the balance with us with Schwab, which was about $471,000. Even when we added in some of our Schwab's expense ratios, that was about $4,500 a year that was going to be charged. So here's the difference. By the time we added up, we'll call them the other guys, by the time we added up all of their fees under the tiered system, now again, this account, granted was like $1.1 million, they were going to have to pay them. The money manager was going to make, Aaron, $15,650 a year. Every year. That's a lot of money.
Every year?
That's a lot of money. Yep.
And that's just one client or whatever you want to call it. One client.
Yep.
So if they have 10 clients paying that out to them,
that's $150,000.
That's $150,000 a year.
And really for just kind of watching over their money and shuffling around. Now, in our fees, with this same structure, depending on where you had it, we had an annuity with a no fee, a fee annuity, and then Schwab, we had a blend. It's $7,500 a year. And again, $3,000 of that we don't get. That goes to the insurance company. And we provide all the services, local service, local fiduciaries, local staff. We provide all the free tax calculations. We provide RMD calculations. We have our proprietary income software that comes at no cost. You get to meet with the owner, that's me, in person if you ever want to talk to me. We were going to save them, in this example, every year. That's every year, Aaron. Over $8,000 per year. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
$8,000. So when we come back, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that fee savings. I'm going to talk about an article that recently was published in Forbes. Really good stuff coming your way. And we're going to really think seriously about these darn tribbles and why in the world wouldn't we, if we could, toss some of them overboard. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. One of the things we're known for here at Tony Walker Financial is our proprietary 401k rollover concept called the Worry-Free Split IRA. And here's how it works. Unlike most money managers and wealth managers who tend to work with investors and speculators, their job is to try as best they can to grow your money with little concern for costs, fees, and risk. On the other hand, our split IRA concept recognizes the fact that savers do not wish to put all of their money at risk, but maintain a balance between enjoying the possibility of some stock market gains, but also without the fear of running out of money in the future. In order to accomplish this, our split IRA works as follows. Let's start with the first bucket. We refer to this as the immediate income and liquidity bucket through our current custodian, Charles Schwab. In this bucket may be all or some of your 401k plan depending on your level of risk. After we determine how much of your 401k or IRA we wish to keep liquid, we then will analyze your level of risk and select one of our 5 personally managed investment portfolios for you. Of course, should you decide to change investments to another portfolio over time, we will be happy to do so, and usually at no additional cost to you. Then we turn to the protection bucket. This is the bucket, or sometimes buckets, where the annuity will go. Why do we put the annuity or annuities in the second bucket? Because we're assuming any growth we might have would be in the Charles Schwab bucket. The annuity, fixed annuities, fixed indexed annuities, fixed interest annuities are meant for protection, and most importantly, their goal is to help you not run out of money. You see, an annuity is the only contractually guaranteed investment that can do this. Wall Street products can't do that, and neither can the products that we place with Charles Schwab. Only annuities issued by insurance companies can provide guaranteed income you can never outlive, something I call mailbox money. So if you are a saver, someone who is more concerned with the return of your money than on it, maybe you have a 401k at a previous employer. You might be over the age of 59 and a half and didn't realize you could even roll your 401k over to someone like us. Maybe you're just ready to use and enjoy this money that you've worked all your life to accumulate. If that's you, let's talk. All you got to do is log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started button. We can either meet in person or we can take advantage of something that's absolutely free. We call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call, whereby you can talk to myself or one of our other well-trained fiduciaries to first find out what it is you have going on and how we might be able to help you. So take advantage of that now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or if you like, simply call the toll-free number on your screen and let's get started. It is estimated that each day over 10,000 people will turn 65, which means a lot of advisors selling a lot of annuities. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a second opinion from TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, folks. So, Tony, I've got a question for you. You know, in the last segment, you and Heather were talking about, a flat fee versus a tiered system. So how are you at Tony Walker Financial, how are you able to do a flat rate? How are you able to do just a flat rate on all these fees?
Well, the good thing is, Aaron, as you know, being the owner of the company, and it's perfectly legal to do this, I can set the fees at anything I want.
Okay.
So since I don't work for a large institution, I don't, as a fiduciary, I work for the client. And we have decided in our offices that the fee of 0.8% While it does help cover our bills, don't get me wrong, we've got a large staff. We have a lot of overhead. We're getting ready to institute some brand new software this year that's going to be really awesome. But by having the commission-based products that we have, the annuities, by having those, it actually allows us to keep our fees down. You see, an annuity, life insurance, those are all the products we sell for commission, folks. Anything investment related, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, bank products, that's what we charge fees on. So when we sell annuities, like remember the last plan I just talked about, it had mixed in there annuities. We get a one-time commission from the company. Now that does not come out of the client's pocket, it comes out of the insurance company, which gives us additional revenue.
Okay.
So not only when you think about it this way, if they're set up properly, you got to be careful with annuities. Folks, by the way, annuities are going to get really, really popular this year as the dinner seminar crowd start coming back out. So I really caution you, be careful. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. There's a lot of them out there and you got to really know what you're doing. But in our analysis, Aaron, if we do put annuities in, not only does that usually save people fees, but also it allows us to get additional revenue, which then we can keep our fees on the Schwab platform lower. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Now, as a business owner, I can do that and figure out how to do that and be fair to the client. If I were working for a big institution, I'd say, Walker, you can't do that. We're going to make you charge the client X, or you're going to have to do it this way or hit the highway. So I think that's a real important point to stop at and just think about for a moment. You know, who are you really going to work with? If you're somebody that really wants a lot of attention, wants to meet in person with an owner, you want a staff that's accessible, whatever. So if that's you, if you're sitting there saying, Tony, I don't really have anybody I feel like I can sit down and talk to that's going to be reasonable with the fees, disclose the fees. We call that transparent. You're going to, and I'll even share commissions. I don't care if we sell a product. If you say, well, how much do you make on that? Be happy to tell you the commission. So, but that's really how we can keep our fees down because we have other revenue coming in for other sources, which allows us to be so competitive on the fees. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. So, oh, by the way, this just came out. Here's a large company. I won't name them here, but a large company just got fined by the SEC. That's who regulates investment advisory firms. And what they were doing was they were monkeying around with the fees and not telling clients. So, folks, unfortunately, this stuff goes on and on and on. Okay, in our remaining time, real quick, what do these fees really add up to? So I'm going to just round it off, and I'm going to say back to our other case that in case you're just now joining us, through our process, these folks have quite a bit of money. We were going to save them over $8,000 a year. So I just kind of rounded it down, and I said, okay, what if we saved them $7,500 a year? And let's say, based on this Forbes article, which is a good article, we do this all the time, but they were talking about your life expectancy. You know, how long are you really going to live? I know I kid around all the time, Aaron. 79 is my age.
That's
so I'm
when you're croaking, okay.
That's what I'm croaking.
That's how long I've got to find a new job, okay.
You got plenty of time. I'm only 60. But yeah, let's imagine you start using your money at age 65, you turn it over to a money manager versus us, and you die at 79. So that's 14 years. Well, if you had the money with us, $7,500 a year in fee savings, that's going to save you $105,000 over that 14-year period. That's a lot of money. Plus, if we could have earned 5% on the money you just gave to another money manager, actually that'd be worth about $161,000. That's called opportunity cost. Now, what if you die at 79? That 161, if you'd put it with the money manager, isn't there under that example, right? Because all the fees. So the 161 could have gone to your family. Here's the wild part of this. The 161, had it gone to the family, let's assume they invested it for 30 years at 5%, would total $700,000. So folks, these fees are just not today. It's the cost today, tomorrow, long into the future, and for the next generation. So if you don't have anybody that's really thinking in terms of saving money, cutting costs, taxes, fees, that all goes into retirement planning, folks. We are here to help at Tony Walker Financial. And it's easy to get started with us. There's no cost or obligation. All you do is go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or give us a call at 877-499-9255, 877-499-WALK. Well, we're out of time today. Next week on the Worry-Free Retirement, great show we've got planned for you. But you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.